I feel like in recent years there's been more respect shown to Christian metal. This is partly because of older Christian metal bands that have helped earn some respect for Christian metal, but it's also because there has been, honestly, a good number of Christian metal bands coming about in recent years. And today I'm going to be reviewing an album from a newer Christian metal band. I'm going to be reviewing Slave to Nothing by FFAK. This was a request made by someone on a Q&A video, so let's get started. The problem with me and bands like FFAK is that I'm not a particular fan of the type of metalcore that they play. See, in my book, the type of metalcore that FFAK and similar bands play it sounds almost too hardcore to be considered metalcore, because metalcore, as you may well know, is a blend of metal and hardcore. However, with bands like FFAK, I feel like it's so hardcore that you can hardly consider it metalcore. So I'm not really a big fan of bands like that. And that's the reason I don't listen to FFAK a whole lot. However, after getting the request on my last Q&A video, I did check this album out, and you know what? I'm happy to say that I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. That isn't to say I loved it, though. I still have a lot of problems with it. One major problem that I have with these types of bands is that the breakdowns can be predictable. Sometimes the guitars are just honestly kind of boring. They go into just chugging, generic metalcore or hardcore type of stuff, and it's really not all that interesting. And FFAK, I feel like they're not terrible doing this. They don't do it like overkill to where I just don't want to listen to it. They do an okay job, but they still do end up doing some of that stuff like predictable breakdowns or reverting to simple chugging, and it's kind of boring. Now, in the vocal department, both the clean vocals and the screaming, to me, is just kind of mediocre. And when I first was listening to the album, I thought that the clean vocals were better than the harsh vocals, and that was the best part of the album vocally. However, then we got to the track Selfish Eyes, which is pretty much all clean vocals. And on that track, I've realized the clean vocals are pretty mediocre too. They get the job done, and I think both vocalists work really well when they're in a song together. But apart, just on their own, when examined, I just feel like it's mediocre and kind of lacking. On the harsh vocal side, it's mediocre. Like, I don't feel like he has too much range to his voice, or else he doesn't use it that often. It sounds a whole lot like a lot of other hardcore or metalcore vocalists out there. The clean vocalist is a little bit unique, but like I said, he's really only stands out when he's working with the harsh vocalist. When it's just him by himself, it's just kind of meh. But like I said, when they are working together, the harsh vocals and the clean vocals are working together, it does sound pretty good, and it sounds enjoyable. But when you just examine them on their own, they're not really anything special. I really liked the second half of this album more than the first half. Most of the songs that I enjoyed off of this album were from the second half of the album and not the first half. Though I do think the first two tracks on this album were really good opening tracks. I really liked the tracks Forever Unbroken, Imposter, A Greater Sense of Self, and The Final Thoughts of a Dying Man. I thought all of those were really great tracks. I thought The Final Thoughts of a Dying Man was a really good album closer that closed the album off pretty darn well. Another problem I have with bands like this is that some of their lyrical concepts almost seem recycled. And FFAK, I'll give them props, doesn't do this a whole lot. However, some of the songs I was listening to, I felt like were spin-offs of a Demon Hunter or For Today song. And like I said, that is a problem with me and a whole lot of newer Christian metalcore bands, is that their lyrics almost don't seem original. They seem like a spin-off of another song that I've heard before. However, I feel like FFAK, for the most part, overcomes this, and most of their lyrics seem pretty original to me. Overall, like I said before, I enjoyed this album more than I thought I would. I really didn't expect to like this album a whole lot, but I did find some enjoyment out of it. Now, is it something that I'm going to come back to anytime soon? Probably not. Like I said before in this video, this type of metalcore just is not my fancy. If it is your fancy, your opinion will probably be completely different from mine, and you'll probably like this album a whole lot if you are a fan of this style of metalcore or hardcore or whatever you want to call it. However, I personally am not, and because of that, I couldn't get a lot of enjoyment out of this. Now, like I said before, I did enjoy it more than I expected to, but not enough to where I could call it anything outstanding. For all those reasons, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it's an above average Christian metalcore album. However, it's anything above that I feel like would be a little bit too gracious, because like I said, this isn't anything I'm going to come back to probably in the near future. If you're someone like me who doesn't really enjoy this style of metalcore, I would say if you're interested in it, stream it, listen to it on Spotify or something, and decide whether or not you want to buy it. However, if you are a fan of this style of metalcore, then definitely check it out, because you're probably going to like this more than I did. So that's it for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope a bunch of Fit4King fans don't get too mad at me, because like I said before, this just ain't my style of metalcore. But let me know in the comments, what is your favorite metalcore band? And until next time, you guys can just keep it metal.